afternoon, everybody. We call this meeting to order for the Southside Network Authority, and with our special guests, our chief administrative officers and mayor designee. Thank you guys for taking the time today to come out here to the regional building. Thank you very much, Mr. Crum, as always, for hosting. Mr. Nixon is going to do a roll call.
Yep. Ms. Ritter, Chairman Bowen's here, Mr. Carter's here.
Yeah.
Dr. K, present. Ms. Wilson is not. Ms. Fitzpatrick is not here. Mr. Beaver is not here. Mr. Hayes is not here. Ms. Days is on virtual, right?
Yes, she's on.
All right.
And Mr. Wallace is here.
Great.
Excellent.
Thank you. So we have an agenda that needs to be approved and or modified. And I am looking for, we have a small crew of members, but a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented.
So,
No, I haven't. Is it?
it's, no, sent.
It was sent previously, but it's not in front of us. I'm so sorry. I will tell you that the agenda is essentially going to be a briefing on potential expansion
Okay.
and old and new business.
All right.
Is that helpful? Sorry, Mr. Carter.
Very.
I appreciate where you are, though.
I'm trying to find it now.
Okay. With that in mind, Dr. K has moved. Is there a second? To approve the agenda?
Second.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And because this is a public meeting, we have to provide for public comment. Is there any public comment that has been submitted to date? I don't believe so. Anybody here to provide public comment? All righty. And agenda item number 4, briefing on potential expansion. Mr. Nixon, I will turn the floor to you.
Sure. Thank
Actually,
you.
do you mind, I'm gonna take a point of personal privilege before we do that. And
Sure.
Can we just do a quick introduction
Yes.
around the room, because I think that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Mr. Carter, do you mind if I start with you? Just a quick hello introduction, who you are. I mean,
I was going to do it, you going to do it.
I would like for you to do it.
Okay. I'm Stephen Carter, City Manager for Portsmouth.
Thank you.
Charles Curiaco, IT Special Projects for the City of Suffolk.
And authority member for
And authority
designated
member,
for.
yes.
Aziz Feller, Deputy City Manager, City of Suffolk.
I'm Pat Roberts. I'm the city manager in Norfolk.
Marcellus Nixon, Executive Director of SNA.
I'm Andrea McClellan. I'm the chair of the Southside Network Authority and Norfolk's designee on the authority.
Bob Crum, HR PDC and HR TPM.
Peter Wallace, CIO for City of Virginia Beach.
Amanda Jarrett, Deputy City Manager, Virginia Beach.
Chris Price, Chesapeake City Manager.
And then we have Ms. Janet Days is on virtually.
Mr. Walker?
Yes, ma'am. Janet Days, Director of Economic Development.
Great. And Mr. Lockaby.
Yes, Madam Chair. Michael Lockaby, Spillman, Thomas, and Battle. I'm here as the General Counsel to the Authority.
Great. And then I see Stephen DeBerry.
Hey, good afternoon. Stephen DeBerry, former Executive Director. Thank you.
And Mr. Lyons.
Yes, Mr. Lyons, Deputy Executive Director for SNA.
Great. I think we've got everybody. So we'll go ahead and get started.
All right. So thank you guys for coming. I've asked you guys to participate in this meeting to discuss expansion of the SNA. So met with you, all the CEOs throughout the last couple of months, one-on-one. I mentioned at that time that we would all get together as a collective group. I will say the next meeting is to get together as a group, if we so decide today, to talk to Hampton and Newport News. So this is a precursor to another meeting. So I'm going to move to slide 2. So before we get started on the expansion, I wanted to provide some insight as to the opportunity we have before us. Or as Dan Constantino once asked, if all goes as planned, what does this look like in 10 years? This is a depiction. So if I can start talking about the wing that's in the middle, which is under construction right now in the south side. You see connectivity to the subsea cables as well. And then you see crossings, the HRBT from Norfolk to Hampton, and then from Suffolk to Newport News, and then up to Richmond, and then to Ashburn, Virginia. So the reason why you see this connectivity in this way is I've been on a number of calls, and the first questions that I get asked are, how do you connect to Ashburn? So if all goes well, we would implement this connectivity, but only if we have a business case to do so. So what are the benefits of this? So resiliency, first of all, and redundancy, especially if we are carrying a lot of AI traffic. I was at an event, and Ms. Jerry was there as well on Thursday at ODU, talking about all this AI traffic. And I can tell you right now that traffic is not fitting on these legacy copper networks. It's got to be over fiber, and a lot of that traffic is going to be destined for Ashburn, Virginia. The second question I get asked all the time is, I need geographic redundancy. And that's why you see the connectivity to Atlanta, because basically it's a carbon copy of what's in Ashburn today. And it's also the second largest data center city in the United States. I would also say, for economic reasons, we had a lot of conversations, or there's a lot of conversations going on about data centers in the region. I would say, as a matter of economic development, this fiber network that we are building on the south side is only one piece of a larger ecosystem. That ecosystem also consists of data centers, it consists of wireless networks, it consists of power, and it also consists of water systems as well. The advantage for having the entire region connected is shared cost for all the same services, and then it's a foundation for a lot of the smart city initiatives. So Mr. Crum and I have a meeting on Thursday to talk about regional collaboration. There are many use cases to have a network that would enable these services on this infrastructure. So, any questions on this particular slide? Okay, I'll keep going. Okay, the depiction before you on this slide is the Southside Regional Connectivity Ring. It's in blue. And then the crossings are in red, and then the proposed backbone in Newport News and Hampton are what you see in red. So this was, in the next color, which is orange. As I understand, these phases were part of the initial discussions when the ring was actually, the initial discussions were talked about. So it's not new to talk about expansion. I would say that today we do not have a business case to expand or to implement the crossings. I am estimating that these crossings will be about $1.5 million a piece if you went through the tunnels, which I would not advocate for. I would recommend they go on the Elizabeth River floor and not through the tunnels, because if there's any type of impairment issue in the tunnels, it takes the cable with it.
And what's the cost of going on the floor versus going?
We don't have a cost for that yet.
Is it considerably more than going?
Yes, yes it is. But the way that I would propose wading into that is you would lease connectivity from a provider that has it through the tunnel. Your business case would mature over time, and then it would make more financial sense to move that to your own infrastructure at that point. So you're kind of wading into it slowly. Any questions on this particular slide?
Mr. Nixon, also, I would say, for those of you who are the OG, as the kids would say, we also have a phase that went out west of us as well. Amanda, you would appreciate that from your previous position.
Yes, ma'am.
So that still is also on the table and would be in consideration as we consider, and I would imagine that's probably a prime area for real estate for things like data centers as well.
Yes.
So we would that would include, Mr. Crum, I need your help here.
So what
Calling an expert.
we were successful in acquiring a Virginia Telecommunication Initiative, or VADI grant. That grant has been used. We are 98% complete with last mile service to Western Suffolk, to all of Isle of Wight County, and all of Southampton County.
Is it connected to the ring?
At this point, it is not. That was not part of the scope, but that potential does exist if you wanted to have those discussions. So it's a project we're really proud of. 12 PBCs were awarded the money. Most of them have not broken ground. We are, for all intents and purposes, complete. And in fact, so much so that we've been offered money to do another 400 addresses that they moved from other regions. So that project is about done. So those opportunities for connection are available in the future.
So not the purpose of today's meeting, but I think as we're thinking about expansion, I want to make sure that we have a broader perspective, that there will be additions to what Mr. Nixon was saying, but to include Western Tidewater. Can I say Western Tidewater? Am I allowed to say Tidewater?
Changes by the day.
That's a real thing. It's a geographic area. Western Tidewater is
Okay,
a
so
real
Western Tidewater.
Yeah.
So, but I do think that there's a lot of opportunity in terms of land out there. So I think, just anyway, so my apologies, but I do think,
No.
as we're considering this, that was part of the original concept.
I think it's great because,
In that context, is there some scope that has all this stuff in it? Because I'm kind of being piecemeal through this.
Oh,
I
boy.
thought the south side was it, now the peninsula is it, and now there's some more. Is there a,
The original application to Go Virginia included 3 phases, to include Southside, Peninsula, and Western Tidewater. So that was the original document. And we can get you a copy of that. That was from 2018. Yeah, 18.
I'd just like to see the full scope of what it is we're trying to do.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
appreciate
but
it.
to address Mr. Corey, yes, all 3 phases were part of the overall contribution. We know that this thing is so huge, you got your regional approach. I mean, all regions, right, small and large. Otherwise, we'd be sitting here with a gold mine for no reason.
Mr. Crum.
If I may add one piece of context. So if you go back to 2018, the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission authorized the submission of 2 Go Virginia applications. One of those submissions was for the creation of something called the Eastern Virginia Regional Industrial Facilities Act, or the EV-RIFA. The EV-RIFA is a revenue-generating structure that allows local governments who join it to be able to work together to prepare sites for economic development and then share revenue on the other side. The agreement was that that EV-RIFA would start on the peninsula and then be spread to the south side. The other applications, and we were successful in getting that funded. The other application, the other part of the application, was for, at that point, the design of the Southside Fiber Ring. We asked for money for design of the Southside Fiber Ring. That part of the application was fully endorsed by our regional Go Virginia Regional Council unanimously. In fact, they told us we didn't ask for enough money. But when it got to the state level, and it's common knowledge that the telecom industry was not exactly happy we were doing this at the time, and there was some lobbying done, and the Go Virginia board at the state level said, we're going to hit pause on funding any fiber projects. And that part was not funded, and that's when the 5 Southside localities stepped up and said, you know what, we'll just fund that on our own, and that's how the SNA then started to advance. So, and then the idea with that was that the fiber ring would start on the south side, and then it would progress over onto the peninsula, and then, as Madam Chair said, also to the southwest. So.
It's been a evolving story, as you can imagine, but I think in good ways. So this is an exciting time now because of the opportunity that has presented itself from potential interested parties. So now that I've derailed your slide.
no, that's fine. So since you guys have teed it up for me, if we're gonna do implement connectivity to Isle of Wight County, we would also, I would highly recommend that we implement a third crossing, which would be across the James River Bridge of 17, for which when I was a kid, that was the only way you could get over to that side. There was no Marlington Merrimack back in those days. So, and that would work really well in the way that it's drawn out today. So, all right. So let's talk about how the authority works today. So as we mentioned earlier, the 5 Southside cities got together. The original purpose of the ring, there were a couple of purposes: to decrease city internet and telecom expense, and then enabling economic development and increasing regional telecom and internet competition. So so as you see today, if you guys have been driving around Norfolk, for example, you see that there's a lot of fiber being constructed in Norfolk and other places. So the latter part of this project, or the latter goal of it, has already started to happen. So there's new players like Lumos and Metronet. GTS is our P3 partner. They're also in the mix. So the increase in internet and telecom competition has already happened. So the authority was initiated by the 5 Southside cities to operationalize the 119-mile ring that we just talked about earlier. This ring is a 288-strand fiber ring. Although the amount of fiber infrastructure in each city varies, each city contributed $5 million. So Virginia Beach has the largest portion of the ring at 35.44 miles. Suffolk has the second largest, slightly less, with 34.76. Portsmouth has the smallest with 8.89, but each member contributed equally. And then each city has access to 6 strands of fiber around the entirety of the ring for its own purposes. And as you see on this graph, each city contributes to the authority annual operating budget equally. Any questions on this slide?
I would say that, just to clarify, in terms of the annual operating budget contribution, that is not a specific number that everybody has agreed to. That was it. As I recall, each year we determine what the requirement is annually, but it's not.
So it's not a per capita?
No, sir. So I think it's important to make sure people understand that that is, and at this point, we don't have any sort of escrow outside of the money that was put in originally, the $25 million, and the additional $500,000 that's been committed by each city in 2024.
On that last chart, then I apologize for not asking to be recognized, Madam Chair. So how did we determine the contribution for each locality?
The $5 million or the
The
139?
operating.
It was based on a budget of this past year.
So each year, the SNA staff develops a budget based on the forecasted spend for the year, and then we ask the board to review and approve that expense.
I mean, is the contribution equal for the 5 localities?
Yes,
Oh,
it's equal.
okay.
Yeah.
So this year,
Oh, I see.
it's all equal, yep. Okay, so let's talk about the next slide, which is the authority entered into a public-private partnership with GTS/Spark Networks, Spark with a Q, as I always say. And Spark has access to 96 strands of the 288 strands around the ring. They pay the authority $2 million per year for $175 per fiber strand. Spark is also responsible for maintenance for the entire ring.
$175,000 per strand. Is that
$175 per mile.
Oh, per mile. Sorry, the per mile didn't come out. Okay, I want to make sure.
That's why I said per strand mile.
Okay.
You might have jumped
Go
in with a
ahead.
question. So one more time, so and everybody may know, I was a board member like 6 years ago, and I had forgotten everything. I apologize. So now I'm going to ask a bunch of basic questions. So who's the contractor?
So Denella Construction.
Who's it?
Denella.
Denella, okay. And so we're building it, Spark is leasing it from us?
Well, they're leasing 96 strands of the
Okay.
288.
Okay, when does that start?
As soon as construction is completed and they accept delivery of the ring from us.
Okay.
Yep. Any other question?
But that's estimated to be when?
I'm sorry?
That's estimated to be when?
Right now, we don't have a definitive time frame. The way that it's looking with the permits is they're moving through quite rapidly right now. We're thinking it may be the end of June time, right?
Thank you.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So it's not,
Can you go back to, Marcellus, the last bullet point there, infrastructure maintenance? What does that mean?
so we have a comprehensive agreement with GTS today, and it spells out in that agreement that they are responsible for maintenance of the ring.
Okay, so they're marketing and the maintenance and the 96 strands, they have a period of exclusivity for the first 18 months once we turn over the entirety of the ring.
Yes.
Okay.
And they have certain criteria that they need to meet to maintain that exclusivity past the 18 months of acceptance.
Which include the number of passings,
Yes.
the people that are served, underserved. Mr. Brown?
Oh, thank you. So 288 strands, 96 of them will be leased and what I'm describing is operated, maintained by Spark. We have a shared or combined
Each of us.
30. So that leaves 162 that are available for commercial
It's
use.
actually less than that because even though each city gets 6, in my opinion, you should take the whole buffer tube, which is 12 strands within a buffer tube, and we have reserved that for the city's use if they want to use it.
Okay, so maybe 100 or so
Yes.
in play for some future commercial use.
But
Commercial,
that's-
institutional use.
I want to point out that the key caveat is that GTS, if they meet their exclusivity criteria, they get up to 60 months and they can procure more fiber on the ring.
Okay. Is that defined how much they can take down per increment? or
It's not
something?
specifically defined, no.
Okay.
It's
But
as,
they need to pay more for it.
Yes.
And I believe, I don't have the formula off the top of my head, but there's a formula for how much they have to pay, and the next 96 will be worth a lot more than 2 million.
Okay,
Yes.
so there's some prescriptive formula of how they buy the additional and what that deal looks like, okay?
So-
And in the first 18 months, though, if there were another commercial entity, at this point, there's nothing that we could do about those, that commercial entity would go through GTS, I'm sorry, through
Yes.
Spark. They would
Can I
be-
describe Spark as having first right of refusal then? Is that the way?
Yeah,
that's-
I think that's a smart way of looking
Okay.
at it, yeah.
I know we're in an open meeting, but do you have any concerns that we get through the construction, it's ready to go, it's built, it's tested, it's operable, is Spark gonna start using it and paying us?
The agreement requires a $2 million payment.
Okay.
We have asked them for their marketing plan, which they presented at the last Southside Network Authority meeting, to ensure that they are moving along those lines, because we want them to be successful, good partners.
Okay. So we start receiving, the SNA starts receiving this revenue once it is built and tested and accepted?
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Anything I'm missing, Mr. Lockaby?
Not in the big picture. I could probably talk your ear off for an hour about ifs, ands, and buts and the things that keep me up at night, but you got the big picture just right in my opinion.
Not right now, but time permitting, can we come back to this issue of the construction and what's remaining to get to the point where we go, 2 million, right? All right, cool.
I like that
All
idea.
right.
okay. So slide number 6, or as Dr. Kay pointed out in the review, this is the money slide. So we've been in discussions with Newport News and Hampton for a little over a year. If you look through all of our agreements, we do not have a mechanism for new entities to join. So what you see in front of you is my proposal for joining. And so the slide depicted is a proposal, as I said, and it starts with the financial contribution. There's also a legal process as well. So the initial joining fee for the original 5 members, as we talked about earlier, was $5 million. There were discussions when I met with each of the CAOs directly, whether or not that amount should be increased based on the fact that the SNA or the 5-member cities took a risk early on. And also the cost of money was a lot less than it was in 2019, for example. So I would like to start the discussion there to see how you guys feel about 5 million. And just so you understand, adjusted inflation, 5 million in 2019 is 6.3 million as of October, which is the month just passed. So a cumulative 26.72% in 6 years, an annual inflation rate of 4.03%. So just wanted to start the discussion here.
Just to confirm though, if Newport News or Hampton were to join, whatever the joining fee is, 5 million, 1 million, 10 million, whatever it is, they will be responsible for any additional capital requirement to build out the ring that they so desire.
That's the next bullet.
Sorry. Is that good? Okay. Anyway, I think, well, you said you wanted to discuss this. I think that's a pretty important piece of the puzzle.
Yes.
Right? So if they decide they're going to build, it's going to be a $13 million ring, it doesn't really matter 5 million or 10 million or whatever. They'll be part of one of 7. So if we have an operating expense budget that is broken up, it will be divided amongst 7 of us on a, 1/7 share. So anyway, I think that's an important piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, so to be clear, that $5 million is not going to SNA coffers, right? It is $5 million or whatever amount we decide today that is helping them start their infrastructure bill. So the rest of the Southside cities are not contributing to any construction project in any new entity cities.
So
Go ahead.
their 5 million would each respectively would be contributed towards their own infrastructure within the locality. So is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
But there should be some portion that is also attributable to operational expenses, because
Yeah,
for the
that's-
$5 million that each of our cities put in, some portion of that was also attributed to
Yeah, that's
operations.
the next bullet. We'll get to that. We're talking CapEx here, or capital expense, not operating.
Annual O&M.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the third bullet down.
So how long has this entity been in existence?
19?
Yes,
2019?
it was,
Mike will have the date.
no, it was, in terms of the actual finalized, because
That was
our
20,
money's paid
we
from
were still.
ARPA. Our money's paid from ARPA,
That's
so
right.
it was, I think it was 22.
Okay. Oh, gosh. I'm thinking when the board was formed.
Yes.
So what, you're asking incorporated, I guess? Okay.
Are you asking when the monies were
The
paid?
articles
Yes.
were done in late fall of 19, and everything was buttoned down with the State Corporation Commission, which was a pain in the took us about it, in July 16th of 20.
But the monies were paid by the cities not until 21 or 22.
I think most of
I'll
us.
check on that.
CARES Act.
Yeah. How many years of O&M do we have in addition to the cap cost?
How many years of expense beyond the $5 million per city?
Yes.
I don't have the figure.
I think the first was 20.
How about we get you that number? I think that's an important
Yes.
piece of the puzzle, because
It is.
because to the point that I was making, and I think you're making as well, is we are also funding the operations. And
Yes.
so if we bring on new members, there should be an expectation that in addition to the funding of their capital ring, they should also be participating on the operational side.
That's the
Am I reading between the lines?
Absolutely.
Madam Chair, that's the proposal.
Okay, I understand. We're talking through.
Can we come back to the top here and talk about the joining fee first. We're gonna go through each one of those items. But where we got stuck on with each one of the CAO meetings was what should the joining fee be?
May I offer my thoughts as a place to start? 5 million just seems like a round number. My intuition tells me that there should be some indirect cost model or some method that we could use to determine for each locality how much either proportionally or divided 7 ways would be our actual cost that we divide equitably, and you end up with sort of a pro rata cost, and not a joining fee, but almost like you're reimbursing, but somebody a heck of a lot smarter than me would have to figure out how much are we each being reimbursed, what's the upfront cost. I don't even know how to begin, but I don't really subscribe to something like a flat fee. It just feels arbitrary. I'd much rather say how much have we sort of fronted in order to stand this up, and what portion of that should we be reimbursed by Hampton Newport News? What is the methodology to determine that, so that I don't want any citizen in Hampton or Newport News to think anybody on the south side is making a penny off this. It ought to be just a total, easily demonstrated shared cost would be my approach. Don't know how you get there.
I'm almost with you. I think, you think of us as really early stage investors in this, right? And so we put risk capital in, and then we did it in an environment that's crazy inflationary. So we could have done, $6, $7, $8 million worth of projects today for that $5 million. And so there's time value of money component and a risk capital component. So I think it needs to reflect sort of that, that shared equity. But, sort of stepping back a little bit, I'm slightly concerned that we really aren't even operational yet, and I'm not sure where. So
I forgot that part.
I'm a little concerned about any discussion taking away from getting this enterprise operational and making money before we spend a minute of staff time or resources in. And so I think the planning horizon's fine and all of that stuff, but we have limited staff, limited financial resources, and we keep pushing the due date to the right. I think we need to get operational and then maybe start having these conversations. But when we get to that point, and maybe now's the planning horizon for those conversations, I do think we need to reflect that we're all early stage investors in that.
So I think if I'm hearing you guys right, what you're assuming is that Hampton and Newport News would share in revenue. So for example, the only revenue generating component you have right now is the GTS agreement. And if as we follow this, I'm not proposing that they share in that revenue. So I think that takes care of what you guys are talking about.
Well, I guess.
So what I'm saying and what I'm proposing in this agreement or this proposal is that Hampton and Newport News were not a part of the SNA when the agreement with GTS was signed. So in my opinion, they should not share in that revenue. If after they become members of the SNA, any agreement that you sign going forward, they share in that revenue, right? And it's the same thing that would happen on their side. So for example, you're sharing, you're becoming members at $5 million. Let's just say that Hampton and Newport News signed an agreement on the $5 million worth of infrastructure, or whatever the number is at that point, then they share in that revenue. I think that takes care of what you two guys are talking about. But correct me if I'm wrong.
If you don't mind, thank you. I had prepared to come in here and say exactly what you just did, and I'm participating in this portion of the discussion because it's on the board. If I were in the shoes of the Hampton city manager or Newport News city manager, I would not want any parts of this until it gets figured out on Southside, and we can hold it up as working and functioning, and we have a plan to ensure it against disasters, and that it's infrastructure that we're maintaining and owning, and it's generating some revenue, and that it's doing some or all of the things that we said it would do, such as connect our fire stations together, invite competition in the marketplace, So if I'm one of those two managers, I would be standing there going, yeah, let's talk about a deal, but I'm not in, so you have it all worked out. So I do think that this, based on what you said about construction, I feel like we're several months premature to arrive at where we're trying to get to on the schedule you proposed. Go ahead.
So what I'm proposing is there would basically be two separate network infrastructures. They would have theirs, they could start building. When you have a business case to do so, you connect the two networks together because it's going to be expensive, as I just mentioned earlier about the price of the crossings. To implement them, we have no business case or no financial driver to implement those crossings today, right? And the third thing is, as of right now, unless someone can show me different, none of your traffic, or probably hardly any of it, goes to Newport News or Hampton either, right? So you guys are sending that traffic today on your own networks through your ISPs to reach the other side. It can continue to work that way for a while, right? So what I think you guys are saying and what I'm proposing are the same thing. Is like, you're really not one network for a while until there's a financial reason to do so.
And why are we having this discussion? What's the impetus of what we're discussing today? If they could just build their own network and at some future state we connect, what's the purpose of what we're doing?
The purpose of what we're doing is we have to, if we're going to implement, well, it was an original plan to connect the peninsula. If we want to implement a regional infrastructure, we have to get to the peninsula, right?
Okay.
So to forward that original thought, also, if we want to implement connectivity to Richmond, as I said earlier, and connectivity to Ashburn, we have to get to the peninsula to do so.
We're getting to Ashburn and Atlanta today through our own ISP.
Right.
What I'm saying is, if they have to build a network, or choose to build a network, I'll say it that way, they can go ahead and build the network.
That's what I'm proposing.
Without us.
Without us.
Right.
And then at some point in the future, when we have worked out all of our issues, we've got everything up and running, then we're talking about connectivity. I'm saying, why are we having this discussion today?
I think that they had an interest, the managers there, in moving this forward. I think we've had discussions like that, and they said, no, we want to be part of this. So
Okay.
that's why we're having the discussion. Also, the time frame, which I know is in 2 slides, sorry, to do this and all the legality of expanding the authority is going to take 6 to 9 months potentially from each of our respective councils, and everybody has to vote on all the same thing. So it's going to take a while. So to some extent, it's a planning process.
Okay.
Moreover, we are talking to Pat's point earlier, we are talking to Hampton and Newport News to provide them an analysis of each of their respective cities for planning purposes. We will issue an RFP out, so it won't be Marcellus and Warren and Stephen. There will be others that come in and do that, and will basically be a flow through for that planning purpose. That doesn't require them to be part of the authority, though. We could do that separately. But that's, so, and that also gets them, so when they decide, hey, listen, we want to do this, Chris, to your point, there'll have been some planning horizon where they will have more information, and they'll know, okay, we need to spend 8.7 million, not 13.2, whatever it is, right? So that's, I think, so there's some parallel paths we're going on, but we know this is going to take a while, so I think we're just in the initial stages of, what do you guys think about this? How do you think we should proceed? We don't want to go down a path and then come back to you and everybody goes, we don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste their time. So this is really just a helpful introductory discussion.
Can you, maybe I'm not getting it, but can you explain to me again, where does the joining fee go? So if Hampton and Newport News collectively put in 10 million, where does that 10 million go?
That goes into building $5 million apiece of infrastructure in each one of those cities. So,
and what's the total cost of the build for those 2 cities?
So I'm estimating to build backbone in Newport News is going to be about $14 million. I'm estimating in Hampton it's going to be about $10 million.
So what is the value to SNA of them joining?
The value to SNA is need to reach the peninsula to forward our own future goals, and also for economic development reasons, that's the value for us to connect to them as well, because we're going up the peninsula, up I-64.
To get to Ashburn is the
And
idea.
so,
We're gonna own the network?
no,
To-
we're not owning. The cities themselves, because,
No, I don't mean the ring that they're building.
yep,
I mean, your connection through Richmond. You know, that's still gonna be leased, isn't it?
we can lease it initially, which is what I would propose, not build it. I mean, but we are basically using their network infrastructure to reach the points that we don't have.
So I'm probably asking the wrong question though. So if the cost, if their joint fee is 5 million apiece, their total construction is 14. So whether we ask for 5 or 7 is immaterial to them because it all goes 100%. My question financially is what's in it for us? So I know in the future, we would like to connect over there and to continue on our way to Ashburn. They also need us. Are we saying that they're asking to buy access to our infrastructure that we've already paid? Is the value of that enterprise 0, right? Because we the SNA are getting 0 except for future connection, which we don't need now. And in the future, we could lease, there's already private fiber in the water right now. We could lease from private fiber, have them increase. There's other ways to go that we haven't explored. So to say that the buy-in fee to SNA is effectively 0 because 100% of their money, their joiner fee, is going towards their own, then that joint fee is immaterial. We could, the flip the script business model would be, you all build your own network, it doesn't matter what it costs, and here's how much it's going to cost you to connect to us, right? Or that we distribute among members, or maybe we've decided that the value of making the connection is worth it to us, because we want to go that way, that we're going to give you free access to, I don't know.
Yeah, so
I think that's a better way to look at it than
you're
a joint fee.
You're exactly right. So going forward, any new connections, let's just say, like Mr. Crump brings up Jeff Labs a lot. So Newport News connects Jeff Labs to their fiber, whatever agreement that they sign. If they are SNA members at that point, the SNA has a share of that revenue. So you're basically entering into agreement, and then the same thing would happen on the south side as well. So going forward, any new agreements that were signed, Hampton and Newport News would share in that revenue as well. So there's a twofold benefit from my perspective. We're going to the peninsula to get to the locations that we've just specified and the potential for shared revenue. And it's not costing you anything.
Maybe the I'm sorry, go ahead.
To Chris's point here, if whatever amount we decide to charge, and we're calling it a joint fee, is really just to build their own network. Why are we calling that a joint fee? That's nothing to us. I don't even care if you do it or not, if that's what you're gonna do.
Yeah, I think that there needs to be an administrative, Pat, you made the point as well about, we need to do an analysis of what we spent to date on the administration of this, outside of the Capitol. And that's what I said, we need to come back to it. Once we have that data, I think then we could maybe make a more informed decision, as well as moving forward, what our operating expenses we anticipate and how we would share in that.
Yeah, but if the joining fee, no matter what number we come up with, it's just gonna go to build their network.
No, I don't think that should be the case.
All right,
There needs to be.
that's gonna be my point here.
Completely agree with you. I think
Okay.
that's very well stated. Yeah, we can't just say, oh, we've done all this heavy lifting and we worked on this for so many years, we've put all this operating money in, and you can come in because we want you to be part of it. Unless Chris has, said, well, maybe it's so valuable that we're there, we say, okay, it's a depressed price.
Maybe it's possible that the value to us in terms of using their connection to accelerate getting to Ashburn, it's possible that the value of that is equal to what we would if they were a private business and they just wanted to connect to SNA and we were going to let them connect, right? It's possible that those values are roughly equal and we work altruistically a lot as a region on things that aren't, you know, proportional share, whatever. So I just have no idea if we just said, well, I don't care. I guess a better way to say it is if Hampton and Newport News were never going to do this and we wanted to connect to Ashburn, we would have to do our own connection or lease connection from somebody else to some point. We're not going to build our own fiber optic network all the way to Ashburn. So we're going to be leasing or entering into partnerships or something. So with or without Hampton and Newport News doing a ring, what would that cost us? And conversely, what would it cost them if they did this thing and they had to build their own system infrastructure to connect to the landings, right? And what's the rough proportional value of those things? And if it's roughly proportional, then, you know, we just handshake.
We need some more dollar amounts it's a financial modeling before we make any decision. But I think we understand what the inputs are.
Right, I can tell you, call this a joining fee is a misnomer, first of all.
Yeah.
Second thing is, if we're actually talking about a true joining fee, I gotta understand all the whole
What you're getting
picture
from it, yeah.
before I can get, I can't start with a joining fee. I gotta end with a joining fee.
Yeah.
Also like to add to regarding the operational costs that we've had before and post. As a city looking at tightening your budgets, what's that future cost for the cities on the five side? Because we cannot continue to pay that every year, and it's not seeing some revenue to take that burden off of us. So I think all of that got to be part of the equation.
Or expense reduction.
Got to be part of the equation.
So what you guys are really saying, and I want to make sure I'm connecting what you're saying is, you need a financial model for the SNA.
I'm saying we need to finish building it and see if it works, and this is a great discussion. I'm glad we're having it, because I do think that at some point it's going to be more clear to all of us that there's either benefit in merging the efforts on the Southside Peninsula to form one organization with one set of managed assets, or we do a deal between the Southside and Peninsula that's mutually beneficial contractually, but we don't have nearly enough information to get to that point. So I think it's good that we're expressing this needs to be figured out. There seems to be a willingness for us to want to work with Newport News Hampton, but I would propose that we spend a lot more urgency on figuring out how do we get it built.
The other piece of the puzzle that I should mention is, I did mention phase 3 of Western Tidewater. That, because it's body funds, Amanda, you'll know this better than I and Bob, body funds required a public-private partnership, and so that is a partnership with Charter Communications.
Yes.
And I believe Charter owns the fiber, which complicates how we would expand there too. I just want to make sure that I fully provided that information.
He drifted it out a little bit at the time, but yeah.
I'll fire hose you if you want. Come on. But anyway, so yes, that's another interesting piece of the puzzle. So what I guess what I'm hearing, Mr. Nixon, and tell me if I'm wrong, looking around, that the next step would be continue discussing with Hampton and Newport News the possibility of them creating a ring, whether or not it is connected.
That's ongoing.
Could be independent, and we will do that through this RFP process. And in the meantime, we need to come back to this group and provide some more detail on what we've invested to date beyond the capital in terms of expenses for administration and operations. And then what that ongoing expense might look like as well. Did I capture that correctly, or Pat, help me?
I think you're exactly right. The only thing I would add to that is that now that Newport News and Hampton have the benefit of what we've all seen in the market change in the last 6 years, part of what drove us to do this was a lack of interest on the part of the private sector to do this. And so the government stepped into an industry where at the time we weren't doing it.
Yeah.
And so I think Hampton and Newport News have the benefit of seeing can this be done entirely commercially and they just buy it as a service? If I'm the Hampton Newport News city manager, my first question is, this is not picking up trash. This is not running police calls. Why do you want me to do this? We did it clearly because of market failure. Does that market failure still exist? And that's the analysis. That's the question that the Hampton and Newport News councils have to look at.
So if you look at the same slide, slide number 6, the chair mentioned this earlier. Asset assessments. So we right now have a proposal in front of Hampton and Newport News and the city of Suffolk for that matter to do asset assessments. And in those asset assessments and needs assessments, we would uncover exactly what you just said, Mr. Roberts.
Sure.
We would be able to see the areas that were underserved, unserved, where the existing infrastructure with the existing providers all resides within the city, and you would be able to answer that question.
Yeah.
They'll have their eyes wide open now.
You got it. Yep.
And in the meantime, and most importantly, prioritize, get this thing done, right? And so I think we're on our way. We appreciate Ms. Jarrett, Mr. Wallace. You guys have really stepped in, and we're going to get through this, and we're going to hope that June is a great month for the Southside Network Authority. But did you want to go through any more? Because
I think
taken their thunder.
Dr. K said, this is the money slide. This is what we came here to talk about today. I think I hear you guys loud and clear. I just want to say I have some of the same questions that you guys have, and we just need to create some additional artifacts to show us where we've been, where we're going. And to me, that's a financial model for the SNA.
And Chris, to your point, I mean, we are seed capital, and what we're talking about is a Series A for the expansion, and so the formula is going to be different, and we just got to figure out all the details. Anything else on anybody's mind? Go to old business? We cover it all? We can get you guys out of here quickly.
Awesome.
What a concept. Any new business? I will say, again, thank you for taking the time. Our authority board members are great, but it's really important to have your minds dialed in on this, and we'd like to make sure that we're doing this at least twice a year. And I know that you have incredibly busy schedules, so thank you. But this is a big investment that each of our communities has made. We want to make sure that we're being good stewards. And so making sure you are sitting at the table with us is really incredibly helpful. So thank you for that. Okay, without any other business to be taken care of, our next Southside Network Authority meeting is going to be on November 14th in this room. If you'd like to tune in or join us, we'd love to have you. And this meeting is adjourned.